Here in the States, the Ford F-Series has been the best-selling vehicle since 1981. In fact, every 30 seconds, someone in America buys one at their local Ford dealership. So an all-new version is a pretty big deal, and this week I'm testing the fully refreshed 2018 model. Are the changes enough to keep the F-150 fresh? That's what we're here to find out. So the Ford F-Series is the best-selling nameplate here in the States. In fact, Ford sells about 1 million units annually, which is about twice what Honda and Toyota sell for their family sedans. So an all-new version is a really big deal, and this generation F-150 was first introduced back in 2015. It's known as the 13th generation. This is one of the longest-running nameplates in America, and you can see for 2018, Ford made a lot of changes. In fact, when this generation was introduced, there were so many changes that it's practically an all-new truck, and it's a lot lighter because it now rides on an aluminum body and chassis. Now you can see the front end is instantly recognizable as an F-150. In fact, Ford took a lot of design elements from the Super Duty, which was just redesigned last year. It has the same Super Duty inspired front end. The traditional 3-bar grille has been replaced with kind of a single bar grille, and then the headlights also have been widened. My particular tester has full LED headlights because it's got an upgraded 502A upgrade package. Now this truck definitely has a very American, very traditional look to it, and I really like the changes Ford has made to it. It's a lot wider, it's a lot lower looking, and this particular Lariat trim is probably the trim that most people are going to choose. I mean, Ford builds the F-150 in so many configurations. There's about 6 different trims plus the Raptor, which actually makes it 7 different trims. Now, my tester has an optional 20-inch wheel that's kind of a 6-spoke dark finish. I really like the way that it looks. I also like the all-terrain tires. That's an option if you guys want to choose that. It makes the truck look a lot more muscular, a lot more aggressive. And really from this angle, you can see the F-150 is a big truck. This is known as a half-ton truck, and Ford still offers it in 3 different cab configurations and 3 different bed lengths. Now my tester is the crew cab, the Super Crew, what Ford calls it. So it gives you the biggest doors in the back, so you have the most rear seat legroom. There's also a regular cab and a Super Cab, and then from there you can choose between 3 different bed lengths. This is the smaller short bed, a 5.5-foot bed. You can only pick between a 5.5-foot bed and a 6.5-foot bed if you guys go for the Super Crew. You can get up to an 8-foot bed if you guys want to get the smaller Super Cab or regular cab configuration. Now, at the rear, you can see Ford also made some updates to the design. You can see the taillights are also all new. They're full LED. They also house the blind spot radar sensor here because you can't put the blind spot radar sensor in the actual metal. And then one big change that Ford made for 2018 is the fact that they've embossed the F-150 logo in the tailgate. That's kind of an element they took from the Super Duty, whereas before you kind of had a small chrome F-150 badge. Now, the F-150 was the first truck to introduce kind of that remote operated or remote opening rear tailgate, which you can use from the key fob. But I really like how it's kind of a power actuated tailgate. It also is damped, so that's nice. No more slamming of the tailgate. My tester's missing that step that kind of pulls out here that helps short people like myself get into the bed. But you can see the spray-in bed liner, it's a $500 option, total necessity, otherwise you're going to scratch up the paint. And this is the 5.5-foot bed. It's a really useful bed. It's really wide. It has some nice tie downs. There's some LED lighting in there. I kind of would recommend going for or getting the extender, the tailgate extender, especially if you have the short bed, because this is a little bit of a small bed to use lengthwise, which is why I might say you might want to go for the 6.5-foot bed. But overall, I mean, the bed is very class competitive. I do kind of wish there was like a step here, like what the Silverado gives you, but Ford kind of gives you that tailgate step. But overall, you're going to kind of look at the rear end and instantly recognize this as an F-150. So my particular F-150 has the remote access key fob with intelligent access, and it also has remote start, and it also has the remote operating rear tailgate function, which I believe Ford was actually the first one to introduce that. Here's the current key fob for the Ford F-150. It's a rather large key. I've shown you this key fob before on some other Ford products. To activate the remote start, just push that button and then push this button here twice. The engine starts right up. It's pretty quick. There's also a green LED light that lights up in case you guys aren't close to the vehicle to let you know that it did start up. It turns red if it doesn't start up. To shut off the engine, just push that button again twice, and that shuts off the engine for you. Now, when you first approach the F-150, I really appreciate the running boards that my tester has that's included in the 502A package. And then when you look at the massive door handle here, you can see there's a little plastic pad here. It's actually not a button, but if you want to lock the door, just touch your finger on that pad. If you want to unlock the door, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Just touch it first, and then it'll unlock the door for you. I did find that it was a little finicky. If you're going a little too fast, it doesn't always open. This one also includes that remote touchpad here as well, where you can input your combination, although it's not the kind of LED light that you see on some of the other Ford products, on this particular trim at least. Now, when you look at the interior of this F-150, you can see I've obviously got the black on black exterior with the interior combination. It has the contrasting stitching. It has a 10-way power driver seat, which is pretty nice. The leather feels good. The seats are also heated and cooled. They offer a 3-person memory function, and the interior itself is very welcoming. It's very huge, and then because it's got the running boards and this grab handle here, it helps short people like myself get into this vehicle, which is super important. But when you get inside the F-150, it's a little bit of a step, of course, just like every other vehicle in this segment, but again, it makes it pretty easy. And then when you get up here, you can see very nice commanding view of the road. It's one of the reasons why people love these type of pickups so much. Now, when you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid, just like all the other newer trucks in this segment that I've tested. Now, as I said before, push button start is included on my tester, so all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to fire up the engine. And you can see that a power tilt and telescoping wheel is also included as part of that 502A package. And then, believe it or not, my tester has the smaller 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6. The engine itself, you know, it doesn't really sound like much. It's a very refined, very quiet engine, but don't expect to find that, you know, truck burly V8. That's why you purchased the 5-liter V8, which Ford thankfully still offers as an option. Now, when you look at the interior of the F-150, you can see Ford didn't really make any changes too much on the inside for 2018. This is based off the redesigned 13th generation F-150 that we saw back in 2015. But you can see the materials here are, you know, they've ranged from being really, really work truck basic to downright luxurious. My tester kind of falls right in the middle. Because I have the Lariat, it's got this soft touch dash material with the faux stitching. It's pretty much accented on both sides of the dash. It's also soft touch on the instrument panel hood. The door panel here is soft touch materials, although it's hard touch plastic over here where the window trim is. There's some imitation carbon fiber trim that my tester has because it's got the sport package. It's padded right here where your elbows are going to rest. The actual release for the door handle or for the doors are very strange. You actually put your hand in here and then push this to open the door, which is different. It took some getting used to at first. I also really like the cutout here that kind of drops this down. You have a very large side mirror, which is great because this vehicle is huge. The window is one-touch automatic for only the front windows. I'm surprised that Ford didn't just do it for the rear windows as well, but it's not even one-touch down for the rear window, so I kind of expected that. These buttons here, there's lots of buttons. This is for your power mirror controls, where this vehicle's mirrors will fold in, which is good because it's 80 inches wide without even counting the mirrors. This right here turns on an LED light that's at the end of the mirror. So if you guys are basically looking for a spotlight, this is basically what the spotlight does. It's right there in the turn signal. It basically changes the turn signal from an amber to a bright white LED. It's on both sides, which is nice. Your your headlight controls are over here. Your electronic parking brake is there. You also have a power adjustable pedals here to help shorter drivers like myself find a more comfortable driving position. Now, the steering wheel, you can see, wasn't really updated. It's got lots of buttons on it. The leather itself could feel a little bit smoother. I'm gonna have to see what the platinum trim looks like or the limited trim because the leather just feels a little bit on the vinyl side, but there's some silver painted plastic, lots of buttons here. My tester is missing the driver assistance package where it gives you like adaptive cruise control and automatic braking. So these buttons here are rather large because it's missing the cruise control buttons here, but you can see volume controls there, Bluetooth controls. The instrument panel has a very large LCD helper screen in the center with traditional analog gauges right there. You can control that from this little pad here. You can see there's lots of different information, your truck information, trailer information, off-road information, which is cool. You can change all your settings right here, and then it even has a trailer blind spot information. I typically had it on just the trip and fuel economy information, where it'll show you all these different information, including your fuel economy and how many miles you put on the trip. And this vehicle also has start-stop. Over here in your center stack, you can see it's relatively simple. 2 knobs here for volume and tuning, an 8-inch center touchscreen display for the Sync 3 system. You can see it also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Ford added that when they added Sync 3. Down here is your dual zone automatic climate control. You have your heated and cooled seats, which is definitely nice. There's a heated steering wheel as well. However, to get to the heated steering wheel, you have to go into climate here and then turn it on from there. I kind of wish Ford just gave us a separate button like right here to turn the heated steering wheel on and off. I thought it was annoying how I had to go into the actual menu system to do that. You can see all your different buttons here for the automatic start stop, your 360 camera to turn off your stability control. Speaking of which, when you put it in reverse, it does give you a 360 camera. That is part of that 502A luxury package that my tester had, which is totally necessary in a vehicle like this because it's so massive. Love that top-down view. It does give you parking sensors in the back, although I wasn't hearing the parking sensors go off in the front, so I'm surprised it doesn't have that. My tester also has the automatic parallel parking function. So when you push this vehicle, that button here, it'll search for a parallel parking spot or a perpendicular spot, which is really nice, especially when you have a vehicle this large. There's a nice little center console storage here, which can fit your iPhone. My iPhone 10 is hooked up there. There's 2 USB ports. I did find that I scratched myself on this little hard edge right here, especially if I was going in and out of this in a rush. So I'm a little disappointed that there's a hard edge right there, but I'm kind of nitpicking there. Lots of storage in this vehicle. Big cup holders here. This actually was great storage for your phone. This controls the 10-speed automatic, which is a new transmission this year. It's a Ford-developed transmission with General Motors. There's actually drive modes in this vehicle. You can see DM here stands for drive modes. When you push this button here, it cycles between 5 different drive modes. There's normal, tow haul, snow, wet, eco, and sport. I actually left the truck in normal mode most of the time. The 10-speed adds the eco mode, whereas the 6-speed auto, if you guys get the 3.3 V6, doesn't have that eco mode. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a really great transmission. We'll go into the driving dynamics later on. The center console here is nice and padded. It's massive. When you open this up, holy crap. This literally could fit like a huge purse or a laptop computer. It's gigantic. So again, storage is always a great thing with these big trucks. You can see there's even more cup holders over here. So there's plenty of storage features. The seats are pretty comfortable. I really like the leather buckets. They're great on long trips. There's additional storage here, additional storage there. My tester has the optional Bang & Olufsen audio system, which Ford introduced this year, replaced the premium Sony sound system in the previous generation. The glove compartment actually could be bigger, but there's so many other storage compartments here, I'm not surprised why it is on the smaller side. There's another household power outlet there, a standard one, and then a 12 volt right there, which is nice. My tester is missing the $1,300 twin panel moonroof, which would be nice, although you do get plenty of headroom here, so if you guys don't want the moonroof, you can certainly forego that option. This button right here opens up the rear tailgate. When you push it down, you can see there's a little window that opens up and just kind of lets in a little bit of air. Nothing like what Toyota offers on the Tundra, where it's the whole glass window. Only Toyota does that, so that's a Toyota exclusive thing. But overall, the interior, I mean, look at this. There's so much space here. If you don't like your actual passenger, they're pretty much so far away, I can't even really reach them if I'm stretching from over here, not moving over. But I mean, I can see why people love these big trucks. They're so roomy, they're so spacious, you have a great view of the road, lots of technology. I mean, my tester is basically just missing the trailer backup assist. It's got a Pro Trailer Backup Assist where the button would go right here, where you can actually control which direction you want the trailer to go when you're backing it up just by turning this knob. I believe that's a class exclusive feature, but other than that, I mean, you're kind of going to get in this interior. It's going to be nice. It's going to have all the technology you're looking for. It's going to be spacious, and most truck buyers are going to be very happy with what Ford has done to the inside of the F-150. So most buyers choose the Super Crew configuration because of the gigantic rear seat space, and when you get back here, Ford actually quotes the legroom as the same as the front seats, around 44 inches of legroom, which is a crap ton amount of space. I mean, getting back here, you can easily fit 3 people across because this is such a wide vehicle, and there's so much legroom I can pretty much just cross my legs and just relax back here. But Ford still managed to throw in a lot of features because I have the Lariat trim. Now the materials, it is hard touch plastic on the upper portion here, but it's a soft padded right here where you would rest your elbows. The window back here is one touch, or it's not one touch, it's only one touch on the front. But I'm happy to report there are heated rear seats, 2 level. There's map pockets, there's vents, there's cup holders, there's a nice little armrest that folds down with some more cup holders. So I mean, there's a pretty good amount of features back here, and I imagine a lot of families are going to really enjoy, you know, just putting their kids or their friends in here because there's a lot more space than what you might find in even something like a full-size sedan. Now, just like the trim levels, the F-150 offers a plethora of engines to choose from. There's actually 5 different engines. However, this is an all-new powertrain for 2018. This is an EcoBoost V6. You guys have known Ford's been offering an EcoBoost for a while. This is actually the smaller 2.7 liter twin-turbo V6. And before you think, oh, I can't have a 2.7 liter in a big truck like this, it makes 325 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. If you're keeping score, that's about 25 more pound-feet of torque this year versus last year's 2.7, and it matches the torque of the 5-liter V8. Now, it all goes out through a new transmission, the segment first 10-speed automatic transmission. Ford offers the 10-speed on every engine except the base 3.3 naturally aspirated V6. Now, in this particular combination with 325 horsepower, it's pretty quick. If you guys want more power, there's also a 3.5 EcoBoost V6, which offers up to 450 horsepower in the Raptor trim, which is a completely different review. Now, because this is now an aluminum-bodied truck, it weighs about 4,800 pounds in this configuration, about 700 pounds lighter than the old 12th generation, which is a lot. And in this particular configuration, it'll tow about 7,600 pounds, and the payload capacity is about 1,700 pounds. Ford touts the F-150 as having the best payload and towing capacity. If you guys get a certain configuration, the 3.5 and 2-wheel drive, it'll tow up to 13,000 pounds. And fuel economy is also best in class for gas engines. This particular one is rated at 19 in the city and 24 on the highway. I believe regular gas is the only required. You can put premium in to improve the performance, but let's get out on the road and see how it all performs. So over the years, I've definitely tested my fair share of pickup trucks, and even though I'm not a truck person down to the core, I do know this segment pretty well, having driven most, if not all, of the competitors. Now, this full-size category of truck is probably something I wouldn't personally ever own, although I do appreciate them greatly, and every time I have one for a week to test, I always find that these really are one of the most perfect, all-around family vehicles for the majority of Americans, especially if you live in an area that has plenty of room. And this latest F-150 definitely represents one of the best trucks you could buy. I mean, there's a reason why Ford sells so many of these, and I haven't actually had a chance to actually show you guys a full review on this 13th generation F-150. I've shown you plenty of videos back when I worked at the Ford dealership all those years ago of the previous generation. Really liked that truck, loved the EcoBoost engine when Ford introduced that. So when Ford dropped off this 2018 model, I was very surprised to find out that this had the 2.7 EcoBoost V6. I assumed immediately it had the 3.5, but just because it's a smaller V6 doesn't mean you should dismiss it so suddenly. I mean, with the new 10-speed automatic, this new F-150 is super refined, and I love the fact that it's so lightweight. I mean, compared to the last Tundra, the Titan, the Silverado I drove, this truck is nearly 1,000 pounds lighter, and you feel that weight difference immediately the first time you get behind the wheel. Seriously, when I first put my foot down, I didn't even bother to look underneath the hood. I just knew it was an EcoBoost, had no idea it was the 2.7, but my gosh, the first time I put my foot down, I thought it was the 3.5. I mean, this little 2.7 is the same motor I drove in the Edge Sport last week. However, with the new 10-speed automatic, and the fact that this truck weighs 4,800 pounds, I'm impressed. I mean, with 325 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, those numbers were numbers you expected from a big V8. I mean, if you guys look at the current Toyota Tundra with its 5.7, it makes 380 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. I mean, that's the same torque as this minuscule 2.7, and there are times where this engine feels stronger than the Tundra and the Titan with their big burly V8s that I drove. This definitely outpowers the 5.3 8-speed auto that I drove in the Silverado last year. It's just a ridiculously fast combination. This powertrain in general, to me, is going to satisfy probably about 90% of truck buyers, and really the F-150's handling is also incredibly car-like, which is a great thing for somebody who's not used to driving a truck. It still feels like a truck at times, but it just is so smooth and so light feeling, you're going to be really shocked when you first drive this. And really, like any other turbo engine, it's got plenty of mid-range grunt. In terms of lag, there's a slight little bit of lag when you first take off, but then once it shifts into second, this thing will seriously push you back in the seat. Now I'm going to turn off the traction control here just so we can get some wheel spin. Yep, the bed is unloaded and it's gonna make the back tires spin out. That was fun. I love these trucks when they're in their two-wheel drive mode because they're rear-wheel drive. But anyways, I'm gonna put the transmission back into normal mode. Now, the 0 to 60 times for this car, I believe they're a tick under 7 seconds, like 6.87 seconds, 6.6. It feels like a 6.5 second truck. It's honestly really quick. If you guys go for the 3.5 EcoBoost, that'll do it in under 6 seconds, more like a 5.7 second truck, so almost a second quicker than this. And then remember, there are two tunes to that engine, whereas there's 375 or there's 450 if you guys get the Raptor. Now, I briefly drove the Raptor trim last year, had it for so short of a time that I wasn't able to film it. But the Raptor does weigh a staggering about 600 pounds more than this truck because of all the equipment that Ford has to put on it to make it the Raptor version where it's off-road ready. This to me is just an incredibly capable amount of power. It just feels effortless, which is something that you want these trucks to feel. Now, in terms of handling, the steering is electric. And it's basically a truck. It's not a sports sedan by any means, but because the F-150 is so light, it feels relatively playful. This is, to me, definitely the sportiest handling truck in the segment, and it's all because of the reduced weight. I mean, the steering itself is light, it's numb, it doesn't give you much feedback, although the precision, it's there, it's quick enough. It didn't really, give me any surprises while driving this. The visibility in here is also excellent. I mean, these big side mirrors, my Tester doesn't even have the big tow mirrors. Great view out of the front, commanding view, good view out of the back. My Tester does have the blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. So man, those features to me are necessary for a vehicle like this. Also the 360 camera. In terms of driver assistance, it has active lane keep assist where this car will steer itself in the lanes, and it has the lane departure alert. If you cross over, it'll vibrate the wheel. I found the system to be class competitive. It's not really anything special. There are times where it kind of lets you cross over the lane and then shoves you back over. So it kind of waits till late to intervene. My Tester doesn't have automatic emergency braking or adaptive cruise. Those two features are kind of bundled in, whereas I think Ford should make the automatic stopping, the emergency stopping, as standard equipment. At least on a high trim truck like my particular Tester. Now, with all these other big trucks, the F-150 has a pretty poor turning radius, so if you're gonna be making U-turns or you live in a tight city area, you're probably not gonna want this. I mean, there are times where I was driving this around DC and I had to make several 3-point turns. I mean, I'm in this big open cul-de-sac, so I didn't really notice it there. But it's amazing to me also how nimble handling this truck feels. It just is so light feeling. And that's something that I complained about in the Tundra and the Titan, where those trucks feel old school. This feels like a modern truck with how light and nimble it feels. God, this thing is so quick. I mean, really, the only thing you're gonna be missing is the V8 noise. I mean, but that's why Ford still offers the 5-liter V8. The pull that this motor has, though, is just incredible. You hit high speeds in this thing so quickly, you wouldn't even realize it. And that's what's the most impressive part, is it's so quiet in here, it's so smooth. The transmission has these liquid smooth shifts. And if you put into its sport mode, it shifts even quicker. It's really good at just dropping so many gears. I mean, with 10 speeds, it needs to be able to drop a lot of gears when you put your foot down. And Ford has tuned it well. Even when you put it into its sport mode or its normal modes, I found that it will easily skip from like 9th gear all the way down to 5th gear, just from prodding my right foot down with the accelerator, which is a good thing. It makes the truck feel responsive. It makes it feel quick. Which is something I was worried about, with 10 speeds, the small 2.7 liter engine. But really, Ford has carved out the perfect powertrain combination that will satisfy the majority of buyers with its, amount of quickness, with the amount of speed and efficiency. I mean, my Tester with its automatic start-stop, which is standard across the board now, it also works relatively well. You can turn it off if you don't like that. I've been averaging about 18.5 miles per gallon in my week's worth of testing now. That does fall short of the 1924 the EPA rates this at, but I will say that I had a similar experience with the Tundra, with the Titan, with the Silverado. The Silverado got about 15, 16 mpg. The Tundra and the Titan barely broke the 14 mpg barrier. And the F-150, I'm getting 4 mpg better in basically the same type of city driving as those vehicles. So that EcoBoost engine really is super efficient. On the highway, I was able to get it up to nearly 25 miles per gallon. So that is excellent for just a gas-powered truck, something that weighs, nearly 5,000 pounds. So there's a reason why Ford is kind of leading the board with sales, with, amount of people who love this truck. I mean, this is the go-to truck. Ford sells over almost 1 million of these every year, and it's very easy to see why that is just from, you know, driving this all-new F-150, spending time with it. It's a great daily driver. I think a lot of truck buyers are going to be super happy if they decide to put one of these in their driveway. So after spending a week with the all-new F-150, it's pretty easy to see why this is America's favorite vehicle. As you guys saw, the interior is very luxuriously appointed, incredibly roomy, and the fact that Ford offers it in so many different configurations, you can basically build a work truck and go all the way up to a luxury truck that would replace a Mercedes-Benz S-Class in terms of space and features. Now, with this new F-150, now that it rides on an aluminum body, I found that it drives incredibly car-like. It feels a lot lighter and more nimble than some of the other competitors I've tested with their more traditional frames and V8s. The steering is good. The transmission, the new 10-speed, is really smooth. It's quick. It gets really great gas mileage. I mean, 1924 is kind of unheard of in a big pickup truck. And its gas mileage really tops all the other gasoline offerings in the segment, unless you guys go to the diesel offerings that some of the competitors are offering. With all that said, the 2018 F-150 for me is probably my top pick, at least until I drive all new versions of the Ram 1500 and the new Chevy Silverado, which I'll be driving the new Ram next month when Ram sends me out to Arizona to actually show you guys that vehicle. So with all that said, what's it going to cost to put an F-150 in your driveway? Well, surprisingly, the F-150 is one of the least expensive trucks to purchase starting out. A base model two-door or regular cab STX starts at around $26,600. That actually makes it about $1,000 cheaper than a comparable Chevy Silverado and about a couple $1,000s cheaper than a Nissan Titan or a Toyota Tundra, which really surprised me, although the Ford is very stripped out, which I don't believe you can actually purchase its Japanese competitors with that least amount of equipment. Now, most of you are probably going to choose something like this, where it's a crew cab. There's a lot more equipment. This particular Lariat crew cab short bed starts at around $45,000, and then from there on, there's a plethora of options. The most expensive option my tester has is the 502A upgrade package, which gives you the LED headlights, the B&O audio system, the driver assistance tech, the navigation. That's about $7,300 to add that. It's kind of a no-brainer for me. I would just add it, especially if I was going to go for a Lariat. The wheels on my tester are about $1,100. The bed liner is about $500. All in, my tester's around $56,000, which again is pretty expensive, but it's not any more expensive than what I tested on the fully loaded Tundra or Titan, although a Chevy Silverado or the Ram can get around this price range as well. Now keep in mind, an F-150 can get pretty expensive. You guys go for the fully loaded Platinum trim with the twin panel moonroof, the massaging seats, with everything pretty much, that will run you around close to $70,000, and a fully loaded Raptor, which is again a different vehicle, can go up for about $72,500. But that's kind of a more of a specialty truck where Ford dealers are going to be charging over sticker for that anyways. But with all that said, the new F-150 is probably the perfect vehicle for a lot of families, a lot of people out on the roads, and it's really just going to depend on your budget and how you actually plan to use this vehicle. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Ford F-150 Super Crew. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.